The air was thick with the scent of blooming cherry blossoms as I strolled through the park, their delicate pink petals fluttering down like confetti in the gentle spring breeze. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, yet I felt a heaviness in my chest that contrasted sharply with the vibrant scene around me. My name is Alex, and as I walked among the trees, I couldn't shake the feeling of being adrift in a world that felt increasingly alien to me. Life had become a series of monotonous routines since I graduated from college. I worked at a small marketing firm where the days blurred into one another, filled with meetings and deadlines that drained my creativity. My coworkers were friendly enough, but I often felt like an outsider looking in, a role I had grown accustomed to over the years. The truth was, I was still grappling with my identity, trying to navigate a world that didn't always feel welcoming. As I wandered deeper into the park, I found solace in the beauty of nature. The cherry blossoms were in full bloom, their petals dancing in the wind like fleeting moments of joy. Yet even amidst such beauty, I felt an ache within me, a longing for connection that seemed just out of reach. I paused beneath one of the trees, closing my eyes and inhaling deeply. The sweet fragrance enveloped me, momentarily distracting me from my worries. But as soon as I opened my eyes again, reality crashed back in. My thoughts drifted to my family, how they would react if they knew about my struggles with my sexuality. The fear of rejection loomed large, casting a shadow over any hope for acceptance. Just then, laughter broke through my reverie. I turned to see a group of friends nearby, their joy infectious as they tossed petals into the air. Among them stood a tall figure with dark hair and an easy smile that lit up his face. Ethan. He was someone I had seen around town, but had never spoken to directly. There was something magnetic about him. His confidence drew people in like moths to a flame that I watched as he playfully tossed petals at his friends, his laughter ringing out like music against the backdrop of nature's beauty. For a moment, all my insecurities faded away. It was just me and this captivating stranger who seemed to embody everything I longed for: freedom, joy, and authenticity. But as quickly as that moment arrived, it slipped away when one of his friends called him over. Ethan turned away from me, and the spell was broken. A pang of disappointment washed over me. It felt foolish to be captivated by someone I barely knew. Yet there was an undeniable spark, an attraction that simmered just beneath the surface. I continued my walk through the park. My mind raced with thoughts of Ethan, the way he moved with such ease and grace, how his laughter seemed to brighten even the cloudiest days. But alongside those thoughts came an unsettling realization. Pursuing this attraction could lead to complications beyond what either of us anticipated. With each step through the carpet of fallen petals beneath my feet, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation swirling within me, a reminder that love could be both beautiful and dangerous all at once. The following week passed in a blur of work obligations and restless nights filled with dreams of cherry blossoms and Ethan's infectious laughter echoing. In my mind, each day at the office felt heavier than the last. Every time I caught myself daydreaming about him, during meetings or while scrolling through social media, guilt gnawed at me for not focusing on my responsibilities. But despite those distractions, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant awaited me, something tied to that fleeting moment in the park that on Friday evening, after another exhausting week at work, I decided to take a detour on my way home and visit the park once more. The sun was setting behind a curtain of clouds, casting golden rays across the sky as if inviting me back into its embrace. As I entered the park, memories flooded back. The laughter of Ethan and his friends still echoed in my mind like a sweet refrain. Maybe tonight would be different. Perhaps fate would grant me another chance to connect with him. I wandered toward the same cherry blossom tree where we had crossed paths before when suddenly, like something out of a movie, I spotted him again. Ethan stood beneath that very tree with two friends beside him, animatedly discussing something while gesturing toward a sketchbook resting on his My heart raced as I hesitated for just a moment before deciding to approach them. After all, what did I have to lose? Hey, I said, casually as I drew closer. Ethan looked up at me with surprise before breaking into a warm smile that sent butterflies fluttering through my stomach. Hey, you're that guy from last week, he exclaimed, recognition lighting up his eyes. I'm Alex, I replied nervously but managed to return his smile. Nice to meet you, Ethan said enthusiastically as he introduced me to his friends, Maya and Jake, who welcomed me warmly into their circle. As we chatted under the canopy of blossoms swaying gently above us. Laughter flowed easily between us. It felt like stepping into a world where everything else faded away, a world where connection thrived amidst shared stories and playful banter. So what brings you here tonight? Ethan asked curiously after sharing an amusing anecdote about their recent hiking trip. I just needed some fresh air after work, I replied honestly. And honestly, the cherry blossoms are beautiful. They really are, Maya chimed in with a nod. It's like walking through a dream. As we continued talking about our favorite spots in town, the hidden gems tucked away from tourist traps, I felt an undeniable chemistry building between Ethan and me. Every shared glance seemed charged with unspoken words waiting to be voiced. But just as our conversation reached new heights, a sudden gust of wind swept through the park, sending petals swirling around us like confetti celebrating something magical happening right then and there. Whoa, Jake exclaimed playfully as he tried catching some petals mid-air while laughing heartily. Ethan turned toward me then, his eyes sparkling with mischief, and without thinking twice about it, he reached out and gently tugged on one of my sleeves. Catch some petals, he urged with infectious enthusiasm. I laughed along with them, but felt an electric thrill course through me at his touch. A simple gesture yet laden with meaning that sent shivers down my spine as we all reached out together, hands brushing against each other amidst swirling petals. I couldn't help but feel alive in ways I hadn't experienced before. It was exhilarating yet terrifying all at once. A reminder that vulnerability often accompanied connection. Afterward, as we settled onto a nearby bench, surrounded by blossoms dancing around us like fairies celebrating newfound friendships, I realized how much this moment meant to me. It felt like fate had intervened amidst uncertainty, a chance encounter leading us closer together despite lingering fears bubbling beneath the surface. So, Alex, Ethan said suddenly after taking a sip from his drink while glancing sideways at me curiously. What do you do? I work in marketing, I replied hesitantly but quickly added with newfound confidence. But art has always been my passion. Really? Ethan's eyes lit up at my admission, a spark igniting between us, once more as he leaned closer inquisitively. What kind of art? Mostly painting, I said shyly but found myself opening up more than usual under his gaze. I love capturing emotions on canvas. That's amazing, he replied genuinely excited. There was something about his enthusiasm that made me feel seen, truly seen, in ways others hadn't acknowledged before. Maybe you can show us sometime? Maya suggested playfully while nudging Ethan teasingly beside her. Yeah, we'd love to see your work, Jake added enthusiastically. The rush of warmth flooded through me at their encouragement, but alongside it lingered doubt. What if they didn't like what they saw? What if they judged me harshly? My voice faltered slightly as insecurity crept back in. Vulnerability felt both thrilling yet terrifying when faced with potential rejection. But before I could retreat further into myself, Ethan leaned closer again, his expression earnest yet gentle as he spoke softly. You should definitely share your art with us if you feel comfortable. His words hung between us like an unbreakable thread weaving our fates together. It was an invitation wrapped in understanding, a reminder that perhaps this connection held promise amidst uncertainty waiting just beyond reach. As we continued talking late into the evening, the sun dipping below horizon casting warm hues across our faces. I couldn't shake off how everything felt so right despite lingering fears bubbling beneath surface. This was only beginning, a journey filled with possibilities. Waiting patiently among cherry blossoms dancing around us under twilight sky, filled stars twinkling above like dreams waiting come true. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the park, I felt a sense of exhilaration mixed with apprehension. The laughter and chatter of Ethan and his friends filled the air, creating an atmosphere that felt both inviting and intimidating. I had never been good at making small talk, especially with someone who made my heart race like Ethan did. "Hey, Alex," Ethan called out, pulling me from my thoughts. "You coming to join us for a game of frisbee?" I hesitated for a moment, glancing at the group that had gathered on the grass. The idea of running around, being active, and engaging in casual competition sounded fun, but it also filled me with anxiety. What if I embarrassed myself? What if I wasn't good enough? My insecurities bubbled to the surface, threatening to hold me back. Sure. I'll give it a shot," I replied, forcing a smile as I tried to mask my nerve. I joined them on the grass. Ethan tossed me a frisbee with a grin that made my heart skip a beat. "Just don't be too hard on yourself," he said playfully. "It's all about having fun." His easygoing attitude was infectious, and as we began to play, I found myself relaxing despite my initial fears. The frisbee soared through the air, and laughter erupted as we chased it down. At first, I stumbled a bit, my coordination not quite up to par, but Ethan was quick to encourage me. "Nice catch," he cheered after I finally managed to snag the frisbee midair. His enthusiasm sent warmth flooding through me. It felt like he genuinely wanted me to enjoy myself. But as we played on, I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in this moment. The way Ethan interacted with his friends, his effortless charm and confidence, made me acutely aware of my own insecurities. I often felt like I was standing on the sidelines of my own life, watching others engage while I struggled to find my place. After a particularly spirited throw landed just out of reach for Maya, she laughed and fell dramatically onto the grass. "I'm going to need a medic," she joked, clutching her chest as if she were dying. Ethan laughed along with her, but then turned his gaze toward me. "What about you, Alex? Are you feeling okay?" There was genuine concern in his voice that made my heart race again. "Yeah, just trying to keep up," I replied with a chuckle, though inside I felt like I was barely keeping my head above water. As we continued playing, our interactions became more relaxed. We exchanged playful banter and shared stories about our favorite childhood games. With each passing moment, the tension that had initially gripped me began to ease as laughter replaced uncertainty. But then came that moment, a chance encounter that would change everything as Ethan threw the frisbee high into the air for Jake to catch. He turned back toward me just as I reached for it too. Our hands brushed against each other, an accidental touch that sent an electric shock coursing through my body. Time seemed to freeze as our eyes locked. There was something profound in that brief connection, a spark of recognition that transcended words that I pulled my hand back quickly, heat flooding my cheeks as embarrassment washed over me. I stammered awkwardly. Ethan's expression shifted from surprise to something softer, an understanding that made my heart race even faster. "No need to apologize," he said gently, his voice low and warm. "It happens." But before we could delve deeper into that moment, before either of us could acknowledge what had just passed between us, a loud cheer erupted from Jake as he caught the frisbee and ran off toward the makeshift goal they had set up. "Come on, let's go," Maya shouted excitedly as she chased after him. The moment slipped away like petals caught in the wind. Reality crashed back and around us as laughter filled the air once more. But beneath it all lingered an unspoken tension, a shared vulnerability that neither of us knew how to address. As we resumed playing, I couldn't shake off how much that brief touch had affected me. It felt like a door had opened within my heart, a door leading toward possibilities yet uncharted. Later that evening, after we wrapped up our game and settled onto the grass for a well-deserved break, Ethan turned toward me again, his expression thoughtful yet curious. "So, what do you do when you're not playing frisbee?" he asked casually, but there was an intensity behind his gaze that made my stomach flutter. "I work in marketing," I replied hesitantly, but added quickly, "but art is really my passion." Ethan's eyes lit up at my admission. There was something about his enthusiasm that drew me in further. "That's awesome. What kind of art?" "I mostly paint," I said shyly, "but it's been hard to find time lately. Why don't you show us sometime?" he suggested eagerly. I'd love to see your work. His encouragement sent warmth flooding through me. It felt like an invitation wrapped in understanding. A reminder that perhaps this connection held promise amidst uncertainty waiting just beyond reach. Maybe, I replied cautiously, fear creeping back in as doubt clouded my mind. What if they didn't like what they saw? What if they judged me harshly? But before I could retreat further into myself, Ethan leaned closer again, his expression earnest yet gentle as he spoke softly. You should definitely share your art with us if you feel comfortable. His words hung between us like an unbreakable thread weaving our fates together. It was an invitation wrapped in understanding, a reminder that perhaps this connection held promise amidst uncertainty waiting just beyond reach. As we continued talking late into the evening, the sun dipping below horizon, casting warm hues across our faces. I couldn't shake off how everything felt so right despite lingering fears bubbling beneath surface. This was only beginning, a journey filled with possibilities. Waiting patiently among cherry blossoms dancing around us under twilight sky, filled stars twinkling above like dreams waiting come true. The days following our frisbee game in the park felt like a dream, each moment tinged with the thrill of possibility. Ethan and I exchanged texts frequently, our conversations flowing effortlessly as we shared snippets of our lives. Every message from him sent a rush of warmth through my chest, and I found myself smiling at my phone like a lovesick teenager. One sunny Saturday, Ethan suggested we visit a local art festival that was taking place downtown. It'll be fun, he texted. We could check out some amazing work and maybe grab some food afterward. I hesitated for just a moment, the familiar pang of insecurity creeping in. What if I didn't fit in? What if I embarrassed myself in front of him? But the thought of spending more time with Ethan, the way his laughter echoed in my mind, overpowered my fears. Sounds great. I'm in, I replied, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. When the day arrived, I dressed carefully, opting for a casual yet stylish outfit that made me feel confident. As I stepped outside, the sun bathed everything in a golden glow, and the air was alive with the sounds of laughter and music wafting from the festival grounds. Ethan was already there when I arrived, leaning against a wooden post with a relaxed smile that made my heart skip a beat. He wore a fitted t-shirt that accentuated his athletic build and jeans that hugged him perfectly. The sight of him made me forget all my insecurities for just a moment. Hey, you look great, he greeted warmly, his eyes sparkling with genuine enthusiasm. Thanks. So do you, I replied, feeling my cheeks heat up under his gaze. As we entered the festival together, I was immediately enveloped by a symphony of colors and sounds. Artists displayed their work in vibrant tints, each piece telling its own story through brushstrokes and textures. The air was filled with the scent of street food, tacos, funnel cakes, and roasted corn mingling together to create an irresistible aroma. Let's check out that tent first, Ethan exclaimed, pointing toward a vibrant display of paintings that caught his eye. We moved from booth to booth, admiring the artwork and sharing our thoughts on each piece. Ethan's passion for art was infectious. He spoke animatedly about techniques and inspirations while gesturing toward various works. I found myself hanging onto every word he said, his enthusiasm igniting something within me that had long been dormant. This one is incredible, he said, stopping in front of a large canvas depicting a swirling galaxy filled with stars and colors that seemed to dance before our eyes. It's like you can feel the energy coming off it. It really is, I agreed, stepping closer to examine it. The artist had captured movement so beautifully, it felt alive. It makes me want to paint again. Ethan turned to me then, his expression earnest. You should. You have such an eye for it. His encouragement sent warmth flooding through me. It felt like he genuinely believed in my talent. Maybe one day, I replied shyly, glancing down at my feet. As we continued exploring the festival, we stumbled upon an interactive mural where festival goers were invited to contribute their own designs with colorful chalk. Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed a piece and began doodling, a whimsical swirl that quickly transformed into a vibrant flower. Come on, join me, he urged playfully as he handed me another piece of chalk. That I laughed at his enthusiasm, but hesitated for just a moment before stepping up beside him. The texture of the chalk felt foreign against my fingers as I began to draw alongside him. My strokes hesitant at first, but gradually gaining confidence as we worked together. "This is so much fun," I exclaimed as we added more colors to our collaborative creation. "It really is," Ethan replied, his laughter mingling with mine as we stepped back to admire our work. A chaotic yet beautiful explosion of colors that reflected our personalities. As we stood there side by side, our shoulders brushing against each other, I felt an undeniable connection deepening between us. It was as if every shared laugh and glance pulled us closer together, weaving an invisible thread that bound us in ways I hadn't anticipated. After finishing our mural masterpiece, we decided to grab some food from one of the stalls. The sun hung low in the sky now, casting long shadows across the festival grounds as we settled onto a picnic table with our tacos in hand. "This is amazing," I said between bites, savoring the flavors bursting on my palate. "Right? Best tacos ever," Ethan replied enthusiastically before taking a big bite himself. He chewed thoughtfully for a moment before looking at me, with mischief dancing in his eyes. "So, what's your most embarrassing moment?" I nearly choked on my food at his sudden question, but burst into laughter instead. "Oh wow, that's quite an opener." "I'm serious," he insisted playfully. "Everyone has one. It's only fair." I took a deep breath and thought back to high school, a time filled with awkwardness and uncertainty. "Okay, there was this one time during gym class when I tripped while trying to impress someone during basketball practice." Ethan leaned closer, intrigued. "What happened?" "I fell flat on my face right in front of everyone," I admitted sheepishly. And then my crush laughed so hard they almost cried. Ethan laughed heartily at my story. His laughter was infectious and made me feel lighter than air. "That's classic. But hey, at least you made an impression." We continued sharing stories, each revelation drawing us closer together as laughter filled the air around us like music playing softly in the background. With every shared moment came deeper vulnerability. It felt like peeling back layers of ourselves, revealing who we truly were beneath surface-level facades. But amidst all this joy lingered an undercurrent of fear within me, a reminder that pursuing this connection could lead to complications beyond what either of us anticipated. As dusk began to settle over the festival, the sky painted with hues of orange and pink, I felt an overwhelming urge to lean closer to Ethan, to bridge that gap between us. Once more, but doubt crept back in again like an unwelcome guest at a party. Just then, like fate intervening, Ethan glanced sideways at me, his expression serious yet soft as he spoke. "You know, I really enjoy spending time with you." My heart raced at his admission. It felt like an invitation wrapped in sincerity, a reminder that perhaps this connection held promise amidst uncertainty waiting just beyond reach. "I enjoy it too," I replied quietly but honestly. There was something about being with him that felt effortless, a sense of belonging I hadn't experienced before. As we finished our meal under twinkling lights strung above us, the atmosphere alive with music and laughter, I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning, a journey filled with possibilities waiting patiently among cherry blossoms dancing around us under twilight sky, filled stars twinkling above like dreams waiting come true. The art festival had come to a close, but the energy between Ethan and me crackled like static electricity in the air. As we walked through the park, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow that painted everything in shades of gold and lavender. The cherry blossoms swayed gently in the evening breeze, their petals drifting down like confetti celebrating our newfound connection. "Can you believe how much fun today was?" Ethan asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he turned to me. "I didn't expect to enjoy it this much." "I didn't either," I admitted, my heart racing at the way he looked at me, like I was the only person in the world. "But I'm really glad we came." We strolled side by side, the comfortable silence punctuated by occasional laughter and shared glances. With each step, my pulse quickened, I could feel the tension building between us, a palpable force that seemed to pull us closer together. I wanted to reach out and take his hand to close the distance that felt both thrilling and terrifying. As we approached a small clearing in the park where a few benches sat beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms, Ethan stopped and turned to face me. "Hey, can we sit for a minute?" "Of course," I replied, my heart pounding as we settled onto a bench. The soft rustle of petals falling around us created an intimate atmosphere that felt almost sacred. Ethan leaned back against the bench, his gaze fixed on the sky where stars began to twinkle into existence. "You know," he began thoughtfully, "today was more than just fun for me. It felt different." I turned to him, my breath catching at the sincerity in his voice. "Different how?" He shifted slightly closer, his expression earnest. "I feel like we have this connection that goes beyond just friendship. It's like I can be completely myself around you." His words sent a rush of warmth through me, a mixture of joy and fear swirling within my chest. "I feel it too," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's gaze locked onto mine, and for a moment, everything else faded away. The sounds of laughter from nearby picnics, the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind, until it was just us beneath the cherry blossoms. "I've been thinking about this a lot," he continued, his voice low and steady, "about how much I want to explore what's happening between us." My heart raced at his admission. It was as if he had voiced every thought that had been swirling in my mind since we met. "Me too," I said softly, feeling vulnerable yet liberated by my honesty. Ethan leaned in closer, his proximity sending shivers down my spine, and there was something electric in the air between us. "Then why are we hesitating?" he asked gently. I hesitated for just a moment. Doubt crept back into my mind like an unwelcome shadow. "What if this changes everything?" I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "What if we ruin our friendship?" Ethan reached out and took my hand in his touch warm and grounding. "I don't think it will ruin anything," he said earnestly. "But if we don't try, we might miss out on something incredible." His words resonated deeply within me, a call to embrace vulnerability amidst uncertainty. I could feel my resolve wavering as desire surged within me, a longing that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. In that moment, caught between fear and longing, I leaned closer until our faces were mere inches apart. The world around us faded into insignificance as I searched his eyes for reassurance. "Are you sure?" I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. "Yes," he breathed softly, his gaze unwavering as he leaned even closer. And then it happened. Our lips met in a tentative kiss that sent shockwaves through me. It started softly, an exploration filled with tenderness, as if we were both afraid of breaking this fragile moment. But as our mouths moved together, slowly deepening into something more passionate, I felt everything shift within me. The IT was electric, a rush of warmth flooding through my veins as desire ignited between us like wildfire. My hands found their way to Ethan's face as he pulled me closer. Every brush of our bodies sent shivers down my spine. But just as quickly as it began, a sudden rush of panic surged through me like ice water pouring over flames. What had we just done? This wasn't just a kiss. It was crossing an invisible line that could change everything between us forever. Ethan pulled back slightly, his breath coming in quick gasps. As our eyes locked once more, there was an intensity there that left me breathless yet terrified all at once. "Wow," he whispered softly, his cheeks flushed with emotion. "Yeah," I replied shakily, feeling both exhilarated and overwhelmed by what had just transpired. "Wow." But beneath that exhilaration lay an undercurrent of fear, the realization that this kiss had irrevocably altered our relationship. There was no going back now. "What do we do now?" I asked quietly, uncertainty creeping into my voice as reality crashed back in around us. Ethan's expression shifted from surprise to contemplation. He looked away for just a moment before meeting my gaze again, his eyes filled with vulnerability and longing. "I don't know," he admitted softly. "But whatever happens next, I want to face it together." His words resonated deeply within me, a promise wrapped in uncertainty, But before I could respond further or process what lay ahead for us both, a loud crash echoed from nearby, where people were setting up for a concert later that evening, followed by shouts and laughter from friends gathering on their blankets below. The moment shattered like glass, the world intruding upon our intimate bubble once more, and suddenly everything felt uncertain again. All those unspoken feelings swirling around us. Left unresolved amidst chaos outside our sanctuary beneath cherry blossoms. As we sat there, hearts racing and breaths mingling, I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of our journey into uncharted territory, filled with passion and vulnerability, but also fear. A midnight escape in a love fraught with uncertainty, yet illuminated by hope. The days following that electrifying kiss beneath the cherry blossoms felt surreal. I floated through life in a haze of joy and anxiety, my heart racing whenever I thought of Ethan. That moment had changed everything between us, but also unleashed a torrent of emotions I hadn't anticipated: fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. As I returned to work that Monday, I struggled to focus. My colleagues chatted around me, their voices blending into a dull hum as I stared blankly at my computer screen. The warmth of Ethan's lips lingered on mine, but with it came the weight of uncertainty. What would happen next? How would our relationship evolve? And most importantly, how would I navigate my own insecurities? The office was buzzing with gossip. I could feel in the air. My coworkers were whispering about the recent changes in my demeanor, how I seemed more distracted and less engaged. I knew they were speculating about my personal life, and the thought made me uneasy. What if they found out about Ethan? What if they judged me for it? During lunch, Mia joined me in the break room. "You seem off lately," she said, her brow furrowing with concern. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Is it about that guy from the park?" she asked tentatively. I hesitated, weighing whether to confide in her about Ethan. But before I could respond, another colleague walked in. Sarah, a woman known for her sharp tongue and penchant for gossip. "Hey, Alex. Heard you've been spending time with that cute guy," Sarah said with a smirk. "What's his name?" "Ethan." My heart dropped at her words. It felt like an invasion of privacy. "We're just friends," I replied quickly, trying to deflect the attention. "Oh, come on. You can't fool me," she teased, leaning against the counter with a knowing smile. "I saw you two at the festival. You look pretty cozy." Mia shot me a sympathetic glance as Sarah continued her playful interrogation. "You should definitely go for it. He seems like a catch." As Sarah's words hung in the air, I felt exposed, like a spotlight had been turned on me, illuminating every insecurity I tried to keep hidden. "Yeah, it's complicated," I muttered, hoping in the conversation. "Complicated how?" Sarah pressed. Her curiosity piqued. Before I could respond, Mia intervened. "Let's just say Alex is taking things slow," she said firmly, shooting me a look that conveyed both support and understanding. I appreciated Mia's attempt to protect my privacy, but the damage was done. The seed of gossip had been planted, and I could feel it spreading like wildfire among our colleagues. Later that evening, as I sat alone in my apartment surrounded by silence, doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest. Had I made a mistake by letting myself get close to Ethan? What if things didn't work out? What if people found out and judged us? Just then, my phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. "Hey, can we talk tonight?" My heart raced at his words. Part of me thrilled at the prospect of seeing him again, while another part felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. What did he want to talk about? Would he bring up our kiss? When he arrived later that evening, Ethan looked slightly apprehensive, his usual confidence replaced by an air of uncertainty that made my heart ache. "Hey," he said softly as he stepped inside. "Hey," I replied, trying to mask my own nerves. We settled onto the couch together, the space between us charged with unspoken words and lingering tension. "So, what's on your mind?" I asked cautiously. Ethan took a deep breath before speaking. "I've been thinking about what happened between us and how we move forward from here." My heart raced at his admission. It felt like we were standing on the precipice of something monumental. a moment that could either solidify our connection or unravel everything we had built together. I want to explore this, he continued earnestly. But I'm also worried about how it might affect us, especially with everything going on at work. His words struck a chord deep within me. I had been grappling with those same fears since our kiss. Yeah, I've noticed people talking, I admitted quietly. I don't want anyone to judge us. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. There was an understanding between us, a shared acknowledgement of the challenges ahead. But we can't let that stop us from being who we are, he said firmly. I know. I replied softly, but felt doubt creeping back and again like an unwelcome shadow. It's just hard. Just then, my phone buzzed again, a message from Mia. Hey, can we talk tomorrow? Something's come up. The sudden intrusion shattered the fragile moment between us. Reality crashed back and around us like an unwelcome wave. Everything okay? Ethan asked gently as he noticed my expression shift. I'm not sure. I replied uneasily as concern washed over me. It seemed like chaos was intruding upon our intimate bubble yet again as we both sat there, caught between desire and uncertainty. I knew one thing for certain. Whatever path lay ahead would require courage from both of us. It would demand vulnerability amidst external pressures threatening our newfound connection. The next day at work was filled with tension. Whispers followed me, down hallways like shadows lurking just out of sight. Mia pulled me aside during lunch again, her expression serious. Alex, she began cautiously, I heard some rumors about you and Ethan. My stomach dropped at her words. Fear gripped me tightly as anxiety clawed at my insides. What did you hear? Just that you two are getting close, she said carefully. And some people are saying things that aren't true. What kind of things? My voice trembled slightly as dread settled over me like a heavy blanket. Just, you know how people can be, Mia replied gently, but there was concern etched into her features, a reminder that navigating this relationship wouldn't be easy as we continued talking, sharing laughter and stories. I felt lighter than I had in weeks. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Later that evening, after saying goodbye to Mia, I found myself back at home staring blankly at my phone screen while contemplating everything swirling around me. The pressure from work mixed with fear of judgment threatened to suffocate any joy left within me. Just then, like fate intervening once more, I received another message from Ethan. Can we meet up later? There's something important we need to discuss. A knot tightened in my stomach as dread washed over me. Uncertainty loomed large on the horizon, a storm threatening everything we had built together amidst cherry blossoms dancing around us under twilight sky, filled stars twinkling above like dreams waiting come true. The evening air was cool and crisp as I made my way to the park where I had agreed to meet Ethan. My heart raced with a mix of anticipation and dread. I knew that this conversation could change everything. The cherry blossoms were still in bloom, their delicate petals drifting down like soft whispers, reminding me of the beauty that had surrounded our first moments together. As I approached the familiar clearing, I spotted Ethan sitting on a bench beneath the very tree where we had shared our first kiss. He looked up as I neared, his expression a blend of hope and concern. Hey, he said softly, standing to greet me. Hey, I replied, my voice trembling slightly as I took a seat beside him. There was a moment of silence between us, filled with unspoken words and lingering tension. I could feel the weight of everything we had experienced pressing down on us. Our fears, our desires, and the uncertainty that had shadowed our connection. I got your message, I began, trying to steady my voice. What did you want to talk about? Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the ground for a moment before meeting my eyes. I've been thinking about us, about what we want moving forward. He paused, searching for the right words. I don't want to hide who we are anymore. His words resonated deeply within me. They echoed everything I'd been grappling with since our kiss. Neither do I admitted, feeling a rush of relief wash over me. But it's scary. I know, he said gently, leaning closer. But we can't let fear dictate our lives. We deserve to be happy. As his words sank in, I felt a flicker of courage ignite within me, a desire to embrace this connection fully, despite the challenges ahead. You're right, I said firmly, my heart racing with newfound determination. I want to be with you. Ethan's face broke into a radiant smile that lit up the dimming light around us. Really? He asked, his voice filled with hope. Yes. But what about work? What about the gossip? I replied, my voice wavering slightly as doubt crept back in. We'll deal with it together, he said confidently, taking my hand in his, a simple gesture that sent warmth flooding through me. I don't want to hide anymore. If people have something to say, let them say it. His conviction was infectious. It filled me with a sense of empowerment that I hadn't felt before. Okay, I said slowly, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Let's do this. As we sat there beneath the cherry blossoms, our hands intertwined, I felt an overwhelming sense of clarity wash over me. This connection with Ethan was worth pursuing. It was worth facing whatever challenges lay ahead. Can we take it slow? I asked suddenly, needing reassurance that we could navigate this journey together without rushing into anything. Absolutely, Ethan replied with a warm smile. We'll go at our own pace. With that promise hanging in the air between us, I leaned in closer, our lips meeting once more in a tender kiss that felt like both an affirmation and a beginning. The world around us faded away as we lost ourselves in that moment. Wrapped in each other's warmth beneath the blooming cherry blossoms, in the days that followed, we embraced our relationship openly, sharing laughter and sweet moments while navigating the complexities of life together. The gossip at work continued for a while. Whispers followed me down hallways like shadows lurking just out of sight. But each time someone brought it up or made an offhand comment, Ethan was right there beside me, his support unwavering. Eventually, those whispers faded into background noise as our connection grew stronger. It felt like we were building something beautiful amidst uncertainty, a love rooted in authenticity and acceptance. One evening after work, as Ethan and I strolled through the park hand in hand, the sun setting behind us, I realized how much I had changed since meeting him. The insecurities that once held me captive began to dissolve like petals caught in the wind. I felt lighter than air, as if each step forward was a testament to my growth. Can you believe how far we've come? Ethan asked suddenly, breaking through my thoughts. I know, I replied with a laugh. It feels surreal. He squeezed my hand gently as we paused beneath one of the cherry blossom trees, its branches heavy with blooms swaying softly above us. I'm so glad you took that leap of faith, he said earnestly. Me too, I replied softly, looking into his eyes filled with warmth and sincerity. You've helped me find parts of myself that I thought were lost forever. As we stood there, wrapped in each other's embrace beneath the blooming cherry blossoms, I knew one thing for certain. Love is worth fighting for, even amidst uncertainty and fear. And as we shared another tender kiss under the canopy of blossoms, a promise of new beginnings waiting just beyond the horizon, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope blossom within me. A reminder that life is beautiful when lived authentically alongside someone who sees you for who you truly are.